Citizen Television.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Planetary Persuader. I am Cosmic Kev, your host, and this is this week's Celestial Madness. Let's look at what we got going on. We've got a sun in Virgo right now. Now, what I'd say about Virgo is that it's the one sign that's willing to acknowledge that things are less than perfect. And it is also the sign that symbolizes where we end up not being so selfish and start thinking of other people. And so Virgo's self-obsession, though, it's still the last selfish sign. It's selfish in that it's helping others to make itself look good. Now, there are Virgos that are, probably helpless, don't seem to be helpful at all. The more individualistic ones, Virgos are sensitive. They need a lot of alone time. In Virgo time, it is the last sign of summer. And we consider it the sign of the harvest. So there's this practicality being an earth sign. It has commonalities with Capricorn and with Taurus. But unlike either of those, since it's mutable, there's this sort of dissolving of the wealth it achieves. It's really hard to make money as a fast food worker or as a caretaker of somebody who's disabled, perhaps, and these are types of jobs that are associated with Virgo, being a janitor, for instance, or, now if you're a plumber, you can make some pretty good money, so Virgos could aspire to that. And the other thing is saying that this is not, an exercise and, if you're a sun sign and you're a Virgo, therefore you're going to be a trash picker for the rest of your life. It's nothing like that. It's, in fact, every one of us has a phase of Virgo-like energy. Whenever the sun or planets pass through our sixth house, we get a dose of this. We get a dose of having to see where things need improvement, learn how to be more of a team player in work situations, be able to pay attention to things like small pets, aunts and uncles, the details, have an intellectual approach to things. Whereas the Mercury-ruled sign Gemini deals more with the macrocosm. In Virgo, we get down to that thing we call nitpicking because it looks more into the microcosm. Now, this has been a wonderful year, though, in a lot of ways. When you look at Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn in Scorpio, and Neptune in Pisces, even if they're just in a loose trine, there's this thing that tells us that if we use a spiritual discipline for the good, we're going to be benefiting ourselves and everyone around us, especially on an emotional level. And we live in a culture in the first world, especially of English-speaking first world countries, it's rather emotionally repressed from what I've observed. And I think having more water signs in the mix helps us loosen up a little bit and acknowledge, hey, we have feelings, We've got, we have sadness and sometimes depression, anger, laughter, all kinds of good humor too. So we have some other shifts this week we want to talk about. We've got Mercury moving out of Virgo into Libra. So we take away from that critical edge, that clinical precision of Virgo and Libra, and then in Mercury in Virgo, and then we go Mercury in Libra, and it's sort of like, well, let's think of nice things to say. We can really influence people well when we say nice things. That's my Mercury in Libra. Or it's the devil's advocate too. This is the other side of Libra. It's not always nice. It's like, well, everything's too good, so now I'm going to make it bad enough so that we have a balance. You know, it's a strange form of psychosis, but you know, I'll work with you guys. Okay. The other thing that's happening this week is we've got Venus moving out of Libra into Scorpio. So we move from this Venus that says I harmonize to the Venus that says I create. So in this place, you know, passion gets deeper. And since, you know, Venus is already in Vedic Libra already, you know, that's the Kama, you know, the Kama of the Sutra. So, you know, the love vibe is going to get deeper. Mars and Leo. Mars just recently went into Leo. So people like bold strokes. You see politicians and people doing over-the-top things. Well, this is part of the Mars and Leo. It's a lot of bluster, folks, you know. We're showing off what we can do. You know, and like I said, Jupiter in Cancer, it helps us expand our ability to acknowledge who we feel comfortable with, what our home is like, who's our tribe, our parents, our family, our ancestors, or our ability to look at history. Saturn in Scorpio is talking about our limits when it comes to death, our limits when it comes to sex, our limits when it comes to the birth process, our limits when it comes to other people's property and things we don't have control over. All of these type of things we're dealing with. Now, Uranus and Aries, historically there was a lot of fascism when that arose the last time in the 1930s. And and we're seeing the same thing today. Neptune and Pisces, this is a wonderful era of hope and change. When we focus our spirit towards something good and righteous, we'll see its fruition. And Pluto and Capricorn, you know, everything that we think is established and firm is about to crumble. So don't put your money in this earthly gain, you know, but put it in a place that will not be crumbled by the obvious. All right. So here we go, one by one, sign by sign.